Somalia loves to deflect by saying Somaliland can't be a country, because one group like the Isaac is the majority. By that logic, half the world would be expelled from the UN and told to pack their bags. If we followed Mogadishu's bizarre logic, the US would be called a white enclave, Japan a Yamato enclave, Lesotho a Basotho enclave, Botswana a Tswana enclave, Eswatini a Swazi enclave. The truth, having a majority population doesn't disqualify statehood. Somaliland already meets every requirement of sovereignty under international law. Somalia's enclave argument is nothing more than lazy, ethno-nationalist propaganda. Let's clear up a huge misconception about Somaliland and Somalia. There's this persistent idea that Somalia can claim Somaliland because they share a language and some ethnic ties. That's what's called ethno-nationalism, using ethnicity as grounds for statehood. But here's the truth. Under international law, that argument doesn't hold up. Legal statehood is defined by the Montevideo Convention of 1933. What does it require? 4 things: a permanent population, a defined territory. Somaliland's borders have been set since 1897, older than most countries worldwide. An effective government, and the capacity to enter into relations with other states. Ethnicity, language, or clan ratios, none of those are part of the legal checklist. It does not recognize clan ratios or ethnicity as substitutes for legal sovereignty. The United States is predominantly white, China is primarily Han, Botswana is largely Swana, but all are fully recognized states. Nobody questions their sovereignty because of their demographics. The same logic applies to Isaac group in Somaliland. So, majority is not a flaw, it's how countries work. It's a state by law, its borders have been fixed since 1897, and it gained independence on June 26, 1960. Somalia's argument that shared ethnicity justifies annexation is illegal under international law. Annexation based on ethnicity or language cannot erase legal sovereignty. Somalia's Greater Somalia delusion extends beyond Somaliland to parts of Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Kenya. Now let's talk about Somalia's borders. Somalia refused to accept the 1964 OAU Cairo Resolution, which affirmed that African states' borders at independence should be respected. Somalia's constitutions, old and new, kept borders ambiguous and undefined, chasing the dream of a Greater Somalia and ethno-expansionism instead of establishing clear legal boundaries. The 1960 Constitution deliberately left borders ambiguous, aligning with irredentist ambitions to include parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, Djibouti, and Somaliland. Somalia even rejected the 1964 OAU Cairo Resolution, which agreed to respect borders at independence because it conflicted with their expansionist goals. If Somalia's borders were theoretically vast, why is it recognized as successor only to Somalia Italiana? Somaliland's clearly demarcated borders from 1897 remain legally intact. What about the de facto unratified union in 1960? Somalia claims that's when Somaliland united with them, but here's the kicker. The de facto union was never legally ratified. Somaliland's government did not ratify it, and not even included in drafting the constitution, which breaks international rules on treaties. And it remains unregistered with the United Nations. A flawed, unratified union cannot erase Somaliland's pre-existing independence recognized on June 26, 1960. International law recognizes that dissolved unions do not erase pre-existing legal status. Somalia's political and military maneuvers cannot override Somaliland's established legal sovereignty under international law. And because Somalia can't erase Somaliland's 1897 borders or June 26, 1960 statehood, it backs ethno-national militias to create instability in Somaliland. And because Somalia knows it can't prove a union happened, it hides behind the misleading claim of territorial integrity. When Somaliland restored its internal sovereignty in 1991, it wasn't creating something new. It was reclaiming a sovereignty that already legally existed. International law supports that. So here's the takeaway. Somalia's claims can't hold up under international law. Somaliland's borders, sovereignty, and independence are protected by law, not erased by myths or militias. No amount of ethno-nationalism can override that.